For number 3, we're asked to find the value of x. So we have two expressions that involve the variable we're trying to solve for, and they're given in degrees, and they're pointing to the angle that they're representing. So we got to know what type of angle do we call this. So these are called chords, side EF and DF, and when two chords intersect at the same point, they form what's called an inscribed angle. The vertex of an inscribed angle is always on the circle itself. So these are both inscribed angles that we're looking at. So we have angle F is an inscribed angle that's 4x minus 3, and this angle, it doesn't give us a point name there, but it's also an inscribed angle. We have these two chords intersecting at that point on the circle. So we have two inscribed angles, and we need to remember that an inscribed angle, or any time your vertex of your angle is on the circle, the angle is equal to 1/2 of the intersected arc. So the arc that we're talking about for angle F, if we follow the sides of the angle to points D and E, we're talking about this arc right here as being the one that's intercepted. Well, we're not given the measure of that arc, but we know this angle is half of whatever that measure is. When we look at our other inscribed angle and we follow the sides, we go to point E and D again. So it's the same arc that this angle is intersecting. So it's also half of that arc DE. So since they're inscribed angles of the same arc, that's important, the same arc, and they're both 1/2 of that same arc, that tells us that these angles are equal to each other. So to solve for x, we're simply going to take these expressions and set them equal to each other. So now that's just an algebraic equation where we have variables on both sides. We call that VOBs. So the first thing I'm going to do is get my variables on the same side. I usually get rid of the smaller one. So to get rid of the 2x on this side, I'm going to subtract 2x, and I have to do the same thing on the other side. So now 4x minus 2x is 2x. So we have 2x minus 3 equals 11. Now we have a two-step equation. We undo the subtraction using addition, and then we undo the multiplication using division. So we get our value of x to be 7. Now that's our answer. That's what it's asking for, is the value of x. But you can check just to make sure it's correct by putting the 7 in for x in both of these expressions. So we know 4 times 7 is 28, and 28 minus 3 is 25. So that tells me this angle F is 25 degrees. Well, remember, it has to be the same for this angle since they're equal to each other, but let's make sure it is. 2 times 7 is 14, and 14 plus 11 is, again, 25 degrees. So these angles are both 25 degrees. I now know what this arc is. Since these angles are half that arc had to be 50 degrees since these are both half of that. So just set those two expressions equal to each other since the angles are equal.